So I get really, really excited about this question of partnerships because the notion of independence and partnerships and allies, they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, the more independent you are, the more control you have over your own affairs, you get to call the shots on how partnerships ought to be forming. And so when I think about where Indian country is going, I think partnerships are going to be absolutely critical to the next generation of nation building. I mean, let's face it, American Indians, still low numbers. We're dealing roughly 3 million American Indian Alaska Natives in the United States today. Those aren't big numbers. And if you want to do the kinds of ambitious things that some of the tribes want to do, you absolutely need good partnerships. And so I think one of the big trends that we're going to see is a growing awareness of the importance of these partnerships and to really strike partnerships that make sense for both parties. I think even with the Harvard Project's work with Google, right, and the use of social media, you can disseminate information, you can push best practices faster than you could have ever imagined even 10 years ago. And it's because of those partnerships they help make that happen. And so I get very, very excited about partnerships. One of the things I think that we need to be aware of as we think about these alliances and partnerships are the unlikely allies. So often, communities, native, non-native, just in dealing with lots of different communities around the world, I've noticed that the partnerships have tended to come from the likely allies, right? And so if we take an issue like the environment and conservation, there's an example of a movement that I would argue has not taken full advantage of the kinds of partnerships that they need to, whether it's bipartisan reaching across the aisle, so it's the Democrats, Independents, and Republicans working on these issues, but it's also at the sort of community base, right? It's getting the NASCAR drivers sort of excited about protecting the environment because they do, or the hunting community, the sportsman community, huge natural alliances that haven't been taken advantage of. So I look at examples like that, and I think, let's look at those examples and see if we can avoid the mistakes that have been made in the past, and let's look hard for some unlikely alliances, and those are going to take the tribes to just unparalleled heights.